Before you jump to the piles and the numbers, I know you want to do that right away, but let me introduce myself real quick. I'm Anya Esma. I'm a tarot reader and a shadow worker, and today we're doing a pick a card where you will hear shadow work advice that you need to hear for 2024. Now, I want to say some stuff before this. This is a collective reading, so go with your intuition strongly, and if something doesn't resonate that I say, accept that. It doesn't need to resonate with you. However, also be open to hearing some things that you might not want to hear actually. If you feel like a reading isn't for you at all, just follow your intuition and pick a different number. I sometimes do that with pick a cards, and then I get really good advice from the second number I pick. If you're not drawn to any number between 1 and 3, you can also use a random number generator and then ask for spirit, your angels, whatever you believe in, the universe, to give you a number through the random number generator and then jump to that. But feel free to also listen to the whole video if you just want to see me read tarot and want to see how I interpret the cards. Now I'll shut up and let you pick your number. I'll show you the piles, and the timestamps to jump to are going to be in the description or in the comments or both. So see you there. This is pile number 1. This is pile number 2, this is pile number 3. To make the choice easier for you, I've also included some crystals. For pile number 1, we have this malachite, raw malachite. For pile number 2, we have this amethyst. For pile number 3, we have just a normal quartz tip. And yes, I know my nails don't look perfect. I'm just trying press on nails. Anyways, so these are the 3 piles. Choose which one you are called to. Use a random number generator if you want. Welcome to pile number 1. The spread is already laid out in front of me. I recorded drawing the cards, but then I realized my microphone wasn't on, so now the cards are already laid out, and we're going to work with that. So I have 4 cards from the Centennial Tarot, which looks like this, and I have 1 card from the Goddesses and Sirens Oracle deck, which I will show you in the end as well. So to start off with the first card, the question for this card is, what is this advice about? What is the shadow work advice that you need for 2024 about in a larger sense? And what came up is the Judgment card. So we're starting off with a major arcana, very big, very intense. And this is telling me that for 2024, your shadow work is really going to be about your life purpose, because judgment is usually about a calling. If you're looking at this, obviously it is the whole judgment scenario from the Bible pictured here, but in tarot it's more about a calling in general and about following your higher purpose. So a lot of the shadow work that you're going to have to do in 2024 is about exactly that, about finding or refinding or redefining your purpose and your calling. And you're going to also be able to go into the year sort of knowing what that purpose is. This is not a blank slate to you. You probably already have a feeling what your purpose for life might be, what your calling might be. And 2024 is going to give you the opportunity to work on that more. And the piece of advice, that's the second card that I have here, and it's the 4 of Wands. So with regards to your calling, Judgment, with the 4 of Wands, I see here that it's calling you to really look back at which wins you've celebrated already in relation to your life path. The wands, the 4 of Wands, are all about celebration. They are about appreciating what has been done and about seeing the milestones. So in order to figure out what your calling is, or to redefine it, or to be more specific about it, look back, especially at the year of 2023, and think about what milestones you celebrated in that year. They can be big, they can be small, but those will be the things that point you towards the life purpose that you are meant for. So maybe you think 2023 was a really shitty year. There weren't a lot of milestones, but even things like mental progression, like figuring out, oh, I'm in a toxic relationship, I have to leave. That's a milestone. Even if you don't manage to leave, it's still a milestone that you even manage to realize that, and then you can work on that. So the shadow work that you need to do in relation to your purpose and your calling in 2024 is that you really have to look at past milestones and then also think about which milestones you want to reach in 2024 that kind of relate back to the 2023 ones, if you know what I mean. Because what I'm getting right now is that maybe you've made certain decisions in 2023 that you haven't fully gone through with yet. Something like you are in a bad job and you want to change it. And the milestone right now is you realized it's a bad job or a toxic relationship or that you want to move house, but you haven't yet done it. And you're sort of in that uncomfortable phase of, now I have to figure out how to actually move ahead from this realization that was just in your mind for the time being for 2023. And now in 2024, it's time to really act on that. And I'm going to look at the third card here is what should you be focusing on in order to achieve those things, and what should you be focusing on in your shadow work. Funnily enough, we have the moon here, which is obviously the card of shadow work, the card of connecting with your subconscious mind. And in connection with judgment and the Four of Wands, I have to say that the moon gives me this feeling that there's still work that needs to be done internally before you can change the things that you wanted to change in 2023. So there was a change you wanted to make in 2023, something you realized that really needs to shift in your life, but maybe you didn't manage to go through with that. And what the moon is telling us is that there is still shadow work that needs to be done in order for you to realize that. So look at the realizations you've had in 2023 about where you want to go and think about what the fear is that is at the core of that. Why have you not done it in 2023? Why has that realization not led to change yet? This is the deep shadow work that you have to do. So I'd love to tell you, just move on it, just do it, but that's not where we're at. That's not where we're at if we look at the moon. The moon is telling us there's deeper work that needs to be done. There's probably a deep fear of whatever change you want to make, and you need to first examine that, because only if you have almost all parts of you, your inner child, your inner teenager, your current self, yourself from 2 years ago, whatever it may be, on board with the change, is it going to actually work? So think about that. Which parts of you are scared of that change? It could be that in today's mindset, you're like, I'm not afraid of it. No, it's fine. I can just do it. But then at night, if you have less serotonin in your system and you still can't sleep, maybe your mind is like, well, actually, in my childhood, this and this happened, and that was sort of similar, and that's why I'm afraid of it. Or 2 years ago, you had a shitty relationship, so you were scared of making the change to look for a new relationship again. Or the same thing applies to jobs, applies to apartments. Really go deep with those fears. So for myself, what I like to do to really shadow work stuff, if I draw the moon card, that's like a knock knock that's saying you really need to shadow work this, is that I sit down and draw tarot cards, obviously, to ask what my fears are around a certain change that I want to make but haven't yet. So examine that, look at the tarot cards, think about what comes to you, really connect with your subconscious, do what you need to do. You can do a ritual, you can do a spell to connect with your unconscious, or maybe you're already at the level that you're in tune with your intuition, that you can just think of a situation. You know, whenever a situation comes to your mind as you're doing shadow work from your childhood, from a few years ago, that means something. So look at that situation and look at what beliefs that gave you, what fears that gave you. Something like that you are not lovable, to be a bit standard here, or something along the lines of you will never find someone who's right for you, or you are better off staying in the apartment where you are, or you are better off staying in the job that you are. All of these things, all of these fears can come up, and then you think about why they are there, and then you can shift, sort of paradigm shift, and write down a new belief that will help you really shift that perspective and really make the change that you want to make, rather than being stuck in that fear and being like, why haven't I reached those milestones yet? Because I was speaking about milestones earlier, and these milestones are in the mind, they're not physical. So those mental milestones you reached in 2023 but haven't been able to take into the physical, in order to do that in 2024, you need to think about what is keeping you from that, what fears are keeping you from that. And then as the fourth card, we have, what is the future looking like if you do that, if you integrate? And because this is the Six of Swords, I really feel like we're talking about letting go of something here. Because the Six of Swords is obviously about letting things go, leaving them behind you, possibly asking for help in order to leave certain things behind you. Or to take the reins, or the pedal in this case. Is that called a pedal? I don't know. Paddle? I'm not a native speaker, apologies. And to really push yourself forward and to leave the situation that you're in. So looking at all of the cards in combination, again, this is about your higher calling. You have reached certain mental milestones in 2023 that you thought would bring you closer to your calling, but you haven't been able to put them into action. And in order to put them into action, you need to work on some fears that you are struggling with. And if you do that, then you are able to leave behind things, especially relationships, jobs, living situations that are not in alignment with you. So that's the shadow work advice you need. It's all about fears, about the scary, about the obscure that is keeping you away from your life purpose. Lastly, I want to talk about the oracle card from the Goddesses and Sirens deck that I drew, and that is Oya, Power. You can also look her up. I'm not super familiar with the deck, so I had to look at the little guidebook myself. But she is the Yoruban horned goddess of power, directing the storms like the conductor of an orchestra. And she's about forceful change and very intense change. So I'm not saying you have to work with her, especially if you are not so into cultural appropriation. But of course, reading about her, reading myths about her can be inspiring. So if you want to invoke her, you can, if that is part of your practice, but you don't have to, certainly, in order to understand her lessons and why she came up in this reading. So this is definitely about very intense and forceful change. And this also says that she is concerned with matters of equality between women and men, and about sort of being an equalizer, of being on the side of women, obviously, and bringing equality with men, with her strength of change. So I'm sort of sensing more and more that maybe in this reading it was about a toxic relationship that you want to leave, and that you have to leave by facing your fears first. So that's it for the reading. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you liked it. This is something new. I don't usually do pick a card, so let me know what you thought of that in the comments, and I will see you very, very soon. Welcome, pile number 2. Here is your reading about what shadow work advice you need to hear for 2024. I've drawn 5 cards. It was supposed to be 4, but another 5th one fell out, so we're working with that. And then we're also going to look at a card from the Goddesses and Sirens Oracle deck. The normal cards I drew are from the Centennial Tarot, in case you care. So let's start off. First of all, the first question is, what is this general piece of advice about? And we have the 7 of Discs. So this gives me the sense that this is about your dissatisfaction with progress that you're making on something in your life. It could be, the second card is pointing towards, it could be about a business. But it could also be something physical like your body, because we are working with the pentacles here. So this is about your dissatisfaction with thinking, why am I not getting ahead faster? Why am I not on the level that other people are on? And why am I looking at these fruits that I just cannot harvest yet? I've put in a lot of work, but it doesn't seem like the fruit is ready to harvest, as you can see in the 7 of Discs. So think about where that might apply in your life, in which part of your life. As I said, I'm thinking that it's probably about a business, because the second card is the Emperor, and that is very often about business building, about having a strategy, having a plan, and following it, and going through with it in a very disciplined way, instead of dawdling and losing track, changing the plan 20 times. So I think this piece of advice is about examining whether you have as much of a plan and as much of a goal as you think you have. Can you formulate the goal that is taking too long to complete in your mind in a very specific way? If you can't, then you don't have a goal. So if you can, that's good. But then you still need at least a rough plan of how you want to reach that. And that is what the Emperor is reminding us of. A lot of the time we have this loose idea of, oh, I want to be fitter, I want to have more muscles, or I want to be richer, I want to have more money, but we don't formulate specific goals. And the piece of advice here is to really rethink that. What is your goal? Formulate it specifically, either for all of 2024 or just on a monthly basis. What's your goal for January, for example? And then working with that and making a plan of how you are going to reach that, even just a rough plan. Believe me, I'm not a big fan of plans. I like to do things my way, and I'm very flexible in how I do that. But the Emperor is not flexible. And this is telling you, you are maybe too flexible. You are maybe too often going off track with what you want to reach, and it's time to stick to the plan. Now, what should you be focusing on to work on this? The Temperance card came up. What you should be... There was a knocking. I don't know if you heard that. Temperance. What you should be focusing on is to bring balance to the plan that you're making in order to reach your goal. Let me bring these cards back up. So as you are clarifying the goal and making a plan to work on it, Temperance is speaking to making it a realistic plan. Because the Emperor is practical and Temperance is about balance. The practical plan that you are trying to make needs to include rest. If you want to have more muscles, you still need rest days. If you want to have a thriving business, you need to still have days where you don't do anything. Nothing. And Temperance is calling you to include that in your plan. What I'm getting here is that maybe you've had plans to reach your goals before, but they were way too unrealistic. They didn't include rest. They didn't include time of you, having to nap, having to rest, having to dawdle, having to ponder. We all need to do that, especially as women. We have cycles, and these energies ebb and flow within us, and we need to account for that. You can't go to the gym 3 days before your period the same way you go to the gym and lift weights when you are ovulating, for example. That's just the truth of life, and Temperance is reminding us of that. So when you make that hard, fast, steady plan of how you want to reach that goal, which you are impatient about, consider that. Think about that. Think about rest. Include rest days. Include anything that you feel needs to be balanced. Because as soon as you make that plan, you're going to know. You're going to know whether it's realistic or not. We like to lie to ourselves about that. We're like, I can totally work 10 hours a day. It's fine. But be honest, you can't do that. And the past has proven that. And the worst thing is then you end up disappointed because you didn't reach your goal again. So, yeah. Now, the fourth question that I had, which 2 cards popped out for, is what does the future look like if you do that? If you make a plan that is actually realistic. So we have here the Page of Swords and the 3 of Discs. That's interesting because we had the 7 of Discs already. So what this is telling me is that you have been trying to do this alone. And as soon as you make that plan with rest in mind and with maybe delegating tasks in mind, you are going to be able to build along with other people and to connect with them with curiosity and with openness, because the Page of Swords is really about openness, about curiosity, about exploring intellectually, exploring with conversation. So exploring how you can delegate tasks to others, maybe to have more rest. That is part of this as well. So as soon as you've done that work within yourself where you recognize what is realistic, you can go outside and work with the people in your life to make that happen. So even if we are talking about a business here, like the Emperor implies, still, if you, for example, have children or you have a day job or you have any other responsibilities in life other than your business, which you probably have, you need to delegate tasks to other people if you want to focus on your business. Or if you want to go to the gym, let's go back to the whole muscle thing, to the ideal body that is implied by the discs, sort of, by the suit of discs. This body and this fitness and this health that you are dreaming of, if you need to go to the gym for it, or if you need to do yoga for it, you need to have time for that. So work with the people in your life to figure out how you can make that work. Yes, that's what these cards are saying. Now, interestingly, the card that we have drawn from the Goddesses and Sirens Oracle deck is Valkyrie's Redemption. So I feel this calls back very beautifully to the 7 of Discs, because we often tell ourselves these stories of, I'm not good enough, I'm not working enough, I'm not disciplined enough, I'm not doing enough, that's why I'm not reaching my goals. It's my fault. But as soon as you realize that maybe your plan wasn't good, or maybe the people in your life weren't supporting you as much as you thought they would, or you didn't tell them to support you maybe, that's when you realize it's not all on you. And that's sort of the redeeming moment, Every hero needs a little redemption moment. And maybe the mistake you made was to think that you can take on the world alone with an unrealistic plan that includes a lot of work and no rest. And now the redemption is that you realize it's not all on you, and you can delegate, you can ask for help. So yeah, that's what the Valkyries are referring to. We're also going to take a little peek at the guidebook. Why not? I've worked with this deck before, but not extensively, so I like to always look at that. Let me find the Valkyries. It is never too late to change. Regret is useless. Forgiveness may be necessary. Bravery is valuable. I think this is really speaking to that turning point where you're like, I don't want to regret that I didn't make the goal yet, that I didn't complete the goal yet. I want to move on, be brave, ask for help, and get it done. Also, interestingly, the Valkyries are a reminder, of course, they only take people with a pure heart. So your motivations, your intentions, your plan has to be pure-hearted, whatever that means to you. I don't want to define that any further, but you probably know what it means. That's, I think, all we can take from that. Feel free to look up the Valkyries again. I'm not going too deeply into that. So thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you like this, and please let me know in the comments what you thought, if this resonated, because this is quite new. I usually don't do pick-a-cards. So thank you so much for being with me here. See you soon. Welcome to pile number 2. I drew the cards already from the Centennial Tarot deck and from the Goddesses and Sirens Oracle deck. I'm going to show you all the cards as I'm going through them. The first card about your shadow work advice in 2024 is the question, what is this piece of advice even about? And we have the Page of Wands here. What I'm feeling is that you have a relationship to this card already. If you don't, that's fine, but I somehow have the feeling that you do. The Page of Wands is, like all of the wands, about exploration. It's about getting the foundations right. And the wands, the land of the wands, is about spirituality, about passion, about the energy of divinity, the intensity that comes with that, the fire. And that's what the Page of Wands is ready to explore. So with this one, even though I don't have a lot of people who follow me who are new to spirituality, I'm feeling that this is saying that it is about a part of spirituality that is new for you. You're looking to explore something that you haven't explored before in the spiritual realm. So that's what this piece of advice is about. Maybe you want to start a totally new practice. Maybe you want to start getting into working with a group of people spiritually. Maybe you want to start reading tarot and you've never done that before. Maybe you want to start doing more spells again, but you sort of don't know how to go about that or how to get back into it. So I feel like this piece of advice is tuning you into where you have a beginner's mindset in spirituality. So the piece of advice, that's the second card, is the Chariot. So in relation to you exploring something new spiritually, we have the Chariot. And we all know the Chariot is my soul card. No, not all people know that who follow me. But now you do. It's my soul card. So I have a very special relationship with the Chariot. And I feel like here, this is about you letting go of constraints that you feel. Because the third card, what you should be focusing on to work on it, is the Devil. The Devil always speaks to some mental or physical constraints that you may have. It could also be something like, let's say that you are not a fully abled person. You're not able to walk, for example. And still, you want to incorporate things in your craft that other people usually say require walking, or require access to your legs, basically. Now, what I want to say about that is the Devil and the Chariot are like opposites. They are... Sorry, I was distracted for a moment. They are opposites in the sense that the Devil is all about constraints, staying small, accepting your limitations, and saying, I can't do that. Whether it's a literal problem of ability or whether it is just in your mind. Now, with a Chariot, we have the energy of saying, I can do it anyways. I will find a way to do it, because a Chariot always finds a way. That's the thing about the Chariot energy. It's a lot like Aries energy, in the sense that you go with your head through the wall. It hurts, but you're getting where you want to go, and faster than other people. But it requires a certain intensity and a certain mindset of empowerment. And that's really what this spread is telling you, that you have certain beliefs about your spiritual capabilities or your physical or mental capabilities in relation with your spirituality that are limiting you and that you need to let go of, because in truth, if you think about it, you are able to do these things or make them work for you in a little bit of a different way than everyone recommends. So what limiting belief do you have in relation to your to your spirituality? For example, maybe you want to read tarot, but you're like, oh, I don't know enough about psychology to read tarot, and I think I need to be an expert in that to do that. No, you don't. And if you need to be an expert, you can learn it. Just learn it while you're learning tarot. Or maybe you're thinking, in order to join a coven, you need to have shadow worked all of your issues with being part of a community. No, you don't. The whole point is that you join, and then that facilitates the shadow work as well that you need to be doing in order to be a full member of the group. So whatever newness is coming into your spiritual path, think about how you can totally change your mindset. And one integral part of that, to be honest, is to think about what are your limiting beliefs. Because often we think like, I don't have limiting beliefs around this or that topic. But then we sit down, we maybe draw some cards about it or just think about it. And you suddenly get to these limitations and you're like, oh, that's where the beliefs are. That's where I'm thinking that I can't do a certain thing because my parents told me that I am XYZ or whatever. You know, I don't want to be too specific. You probably know what I mean. You will be able to sort of find the limitations of your beliefs and be able to traverse that and go beyond that if you have that Chariot mindset. So the Chariot is very, very important in 2024 for you to go past those limitations. And interestingly, the fourth and last card is, what is the future looking like if you do that? If you go with a Chariot mindset rather than the devil limitation mindset that is telling you you can't do a certain spiritual thing that you want to explore. Now, with the Hierophant we have for number 4, we have another major arcana card, obviously, a lot in this reading. And I think a lot of us struggle with the Hierophant because he seems like the Pope or authority. But what this is really about is you becoming the authority of your own spirituality. Even if you join a group, even if you start a totally new practice that you know nothing about, you can be the authority on that. Of course, you can read books about it, you can do anything, listen to other people's opinions, watch YouTube videos about it, but still, you have the authority to decide what you take and what you leave. And your intuition is strong enough for that. So that's what the future looks like if you are able to really go into this Chariot mindset. Let me check if the camera is still running. I've been talking for like 43 minutes. So if you have the Chariot mindset, you're able to then really see yourself as an authority on your spiritual path. As you are the Page of Wands, just exploring, even then, you can still be the authority and say, this is for me, this is not for me. Often we have this idea that when we enter into a new realm of some topic that we know nothing about, we lose all of our authority. We're suddenly at point zero, nothing there, page of wands, just exploring. But in truth, if we have the chariot mindset, God bless the chariot mindset, we are able to say, no, I am still an authority on everything that concerns me. And your spirituality is the most personal, the most private thing. And being able to use your intuition to see what's right for you is so central to spirituality. So don't let yourself get into this mindset of, I'm a beginner, I'm so small, I need to listen to what everyone else is saying. No. Have the chariot mindset, let go of the limitations of your mind, and be your own Hierophant, essentially. That's the message. And then lastly, I also drew from the Goddesses and Sirens deck. I do not know how to pronounce that. She's a Celtic goddess. I'm German, so I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm assuming it's something like Sheila Nagig. Don't kill me if it's not. I'm not an expert. But I just wanted to draw a card from this deck as well. Feel free to look her up yourself. She's a goddess that is often depicted naked. She's often depicted at gateways, I think. That's why it says gateways under her. So I think this is another beautiful image that goes with the Page of Wands, that sort of stepping into a new world, something new that you're exploring, but being sort of not brave about it. She's sort of a cheeky, intense goddess. And I don't know how to phrase this, but being sort of unashamed about going into that new space, being unashamed about not knowing something, but also having your own authority, your own intuition. So if you want, you can look up her if you feel called to it. And that is your reading. I hope that you have fun exploring whatever you're thinking about exploring there. And thank you for watching. Please tell me what you thought of this in the comments, because I'm doing this very rarely. Pick a cards. Let me know if this helped you, if it resonated, and I'm happy to hear from you. Thank you so much. Subscribe if you liked it, and I will see you very, very soon.